Hello and welcome back to SotonLock. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell because it does help a very small channel like mine to get noticed by the YouTube algorithms. So back in video number 17, a kind gentleman called Roy Sammon sent me this bike lock. The story behind this bike lock is that an acquaintance of Roy had a very expensive bike locked up with this padlock, and some fiend just cut through the cable. Now this is Halfords padlock. It's part of their Advanced series, and the part number is 225286. Now Roy says that when his acquaintance bought this lock, it was £45, and now I've just looked on the website and it's £30, which may give you an indication of how secure this bike is, or sorry, how secure this bike lock is. So this bike is, I found this bike lock particularly difficult to find a combination of, mainly because to get all of these bike locks decoded, you need to put a lot of tension on the two cheeks here and pull them apart. And I would normally grab hold of the cable with these two fingers and pull, but obviously because it's been cut, I haven't got that luxury. The other thing to note is that there's quite a bit of movement in the right hand cheek, and the best way to decode these things is to pull them apart on parallel forces. But because you're trying to decode it, what tends to happen is the right hand cheek or the two outer cheeks will tend to separate like that, because you're pulling with your thumbs. Another thing that makes this quite difficult is the fact that these wheels are recessed, and it's quite difficult when you're pulling the part to turn this wheel because it's recessed and you can't get the power in your hands to be able to turn it completely. So what did I try? So I tried the normal method. I tried to turn the wheels, and as I turn the wheels, they go into gates, and as they go into these gates, the right hand cheek travels further away. Let's just see if I can see that. It's difficult to see, but this cheek does actually move every time you go into a false gate. And when you're in a false gate, I could feel no discernible difference in how free this wheel was when it was in a false gate or in a true gate. So I was getting no feedback from that. The other method of decoding these is to turn this wheel until you get some kind of effect on this wheel, and then you turn this wheel until you have some kind of effect on this wheel, and then you turn this wheel until you get an effect on that one. And it's called the indirect method, and mainly because I was having to change hands to change the right hand wheel, I wasn't getting any discernible difference. So how did I go about decoding? Well, I didn't decode this padlock, and I am under no delusions that I didn't decode this, but I did manage to get it open. So how did I manage to get this padlock open? Well, one of the things that I did was, as Potty 312 I think explains, is to try and make a map of where the gates are. So there's a gate on number 9. Let's pull it back. There's a gate on wheel number 2. And there's a gate on number 5. So what I did was I made a note of where the gates are. So on wheel 1, the gates are 5792. Wheel 2, it's 0247. on gate number 3 it's 2579, and on wheel number 4 it's 7024. And then I noticed a pattern. I noticed a pattern that there's a 2 on all of the wheels, and I thought, can it really be that easy? Has somebody just set an easy code? So I thought, this is going to be easy. So I set the code to 2s. Pulled it apart, and it wasn't that easy. And then I noticed there's also 7s. I thought, can it really be that easy? And no, it wasn't. And then this is a little bit of where human factors comes into play. And in fact, it's easier to remember a short sequence of numbers than it is to remember a whole string of numbers. And I looked at these numbers again, and I noticed another pattern. And the pattern was that the numbers in wheel 1 are exactly the same numbers where the gates are on wheel 3, and the gates on wheel 2 are exactly the same numbers for gates for wheel 4. So I wondered, has somebody tried to make it easy to remember by making the number on this wheel and wheel number 3 the same, and have I used the same numbers for 2 and 4? So I had to try something. I had to try 2020. So let's try 2020. And if any of you have watched my video number 7, you will know that I'm not adverse to trying all the different combinations possible. And with a 4-wheel lock, there are 10,000 combinations. So that didn't work. And on a wheel where I've managed to find 4 numbers on each wheel, the combination is 256. So 2020 didn't work. I've already tried 2222, so the next logical step would be try 2424. So let's try 2424. And that didn't work either. So after 24, we've got 27. And after 27, we start again. 50, 52, 54, 57. And I tried that, and I wasn't getting anywhere fast until I got to 72, 7, 2, and it opened. To my surprise, it opened. So somebody had used this method of repeating the little numbers on wheels 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 to try and make it simple to remember. One point to note is that if you do twist this and then try and pull it apart, it's pretty solid until you release it and make it square again, and then it just opens. So that's how I managed to get this open. I didn't manage to decode it. I managed to use a little bit of logic, a little bit of human factors. And Roy, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to have a play. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and strip this down and see if I can see what's inside. But at the moment, thank you very much for watching. As you can see, I've managed to strip this bike lock down to its component parts, and for each thumb turn there is 2 associated plates, as you can see. Now let's have a look at one of the plates. So this plate has some detailing on it, and at the top here we can see a true gate. Here we can see a false gate. here we can see another false gate and another false gate. This little slot here is just for alignment purposes. So we take the spindle. This will fit on the spindle. And if the true gate at the top is aligned with a slot in the spindle, then the shackle can pass all the way through uninhibited. But if we put a wrong code in and turn this wheel, then we're unable to get the lock open until we turn the spindle and get back into a true gate. So that's what that plate does. Then there's another plate, and it's a strange shape, but it does fit inside the thumb turns. And its purpose, let's see if we can get this aligned. Is to sit on the spindle and give us that familiar clicking sound. Now, why do we want this? One, it gives a good indication to the user of where they are and allows precise turning, but it also robs somebody who's trying to decode this of a little bit of feedback. So that's what that does. Now, interestingly, the manufacturers have made two metal gate wheels and two nylon gate wheels. All of them have got the same false gates and true gate patterns. But I was wondering why they'd excuse me. I wondered why they'd manufactured two out of metal and two out of nylon. And the options I got are that if they manufactured everything out of nylon, then it would be easy for a would-be attacker to rip the shackle off the spindle. It's also, I suspect, cheaper to manufacture two nylon ones than it would be two metal ones. And the other option I was thinking is maybe it makes the lock a bit lighter if we have two nylon ones and two metal ones. So this is what we've got. One other thing I'd like to talk about is this plate, which I believe I'm going to call a clutch plate. Let's see if I can get this on. So how do we change the code? So when we operate this unit, what it does is it pushes all of these wheels down and disengages this wheel, allows us to set the code. We release this, and the spring that's sat behind all this then pushes this nylon back again onto here, and that's how we're able to change the code. It's a bit coarse, my my illustrations and my descriptions, but I hope that gives you some idea of what's going on inside this lock. I'd like to thank Roy for the opportunity to play with this lock. I've learnt a lot from this lock, and just for me to say, I was just about to wrap up this video when I thought to myself, for fairness, let's see how quickly I can saw through the cable of the bike clock compared to the 30 odd minutes it took me to get this lock open in the first place using the method described. So I rearranged the table and fitted a vise and clamped the cable of the lock into the vise. What you can see is me sawing through the cable, and taking into account that I dropped the lock on at least one occasion, I would reckon I was sawing for about 1 minute. A more professional bike thief, armed with ratchet cutters or a sharper saw, would get through this cable in far less time. So, please be very careful when selecting bike locks. They are only as good as their weakest point, and in this case the weakest point was the cable between the two ends of a lock. So it just remains for me to say thank you from SotonLock. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thank you very much.